Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Podcast, the show where we take a given movie genre, we explore the best examples, the worst examples, and those examples that are so ugly they're worse than a creepy clown. Hey guys, I am Mark.
Hey, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Charles. How's it going?
How's it going, Chuckles?
Pretty good.
Well, this episode we're doing Stephen King.
Horror movies. I wanted to specify
horror
that.
Movies,
yeah,
based on horror.
Because
are we?
Yeah, well, because
yeah.
he has a lot of other films that aren't, horror films at all, like Shawshank Redemption and Stand By Me, Hearts in Atlantis, a bunch of films you wouldn't expect. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
I didn't even.
I said
put,
are
like
we
the Green Mile, all those things. Yeah, because I didn't want to. Because the thing is, if you put those in the mix, there's so many good ones. They might overshadow the horror, and
right.
So we may do that later on down the road. But for now, I just really want to focus on some horror films. It's close to Halloween.
Don't they have to be scary to be horror films, though?
Well, they are. They're terrifying. But also,
I was
going to say that it's close to Halloween, but also It 2 just came out. That was a big hit.
What did? What 2 did?
No.
All right, fine. Fine.
No, just no.
Okay.
But yeah,
low-hanging fruit.
It is a low-hanging fruit. But yeah, so I'm really excited about doing this one. It's fun. So I hope you guys had fun watching these movies. I'm getting the feeling you did not.
What gives you that idea, Charles?
Or that at the very least that you weren't scared at all. So
I had fun half the time.
Okay. So my picks for this were Maximum Overdrive, Graveyard Shift, and It, which at the end of It you find out it's actually part 1. So
yeah, did they advertise that though beforehand, right?
Not really. I didn't know it.
Oh, really?
It's always in the theater, and it's like, oh, that popped up at the very end. I was like, okay, cool. So,
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So which one do you think is which for me?
Kelly, you go first.
This is a tough one. I'm not 100% on this one. Usually I feel a lot more confident, but I'm going to say it is your good. Maximum Overdrive is your bad. And that other one is your ugly. That one that shall be made nameless.
Is that because you forgot the name or just because you hate it so much?
A little bit of both. We'll discuss that more later.
Yeah.
Mark, what do you think?
My initial reaction was the opposite on the bad and the ugly. Maximum Overdrive at first seemed more like an ugly movie, but man, it was hard. It was hard after those first 15 minutes. So I'm gonna say the opposite. I'm gonna say Maximum Overdrive is ugly and Graveyard Shift is bad. Even though I'm not confident at all about that. And then of course It is good.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Shall we get right into it?
Yeah, so the first one chronologically is Maximum Overdrive. And I have the synopsis pulled up here. A group of people try to survive when machines start to come alive and become homicidal. So, here is the first trailer.
Right.
Hi. My name is Stephen King. I've written several motion pictures, but I want to tell you about a movie called Maximum Overdrive, which is the first one I've directed.
Wow. What in the dickens is going on around here?
A lot of people have directed Stephen King novels and stories, and I finally decided if you want something done right, you ought to do it yourself.
Who was driving it? I don't know.
Curtis! It's coming after us!
It was my first picture as a director, and you know something? I sort of enjoyed it.
What is going on?
I don't know!
I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right.
You want a war? You got one.
I just want to get the hell out of here.
So come and spend some time with me and my friends at the Dixie Boy. spend some time in the dark.
Please don't let us be in the dark.
Help me.
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. And that's a promise.
You're gonna get us in an awful lot of trouble, man. We already in trouble.
Maximum terror.
Jesus coming and he is.
Maximum King.
Maybe tomorrow will be our world again.
Dino De Laurentiis presents Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive.
And we are back. That was the trailer for Maximum Overdrive. And as we were discussing when you couldn't hear us, Stephen King looks like he's pretty out of it and cross-eyed and kind of weird.
So okay, first of all, this movie's from 1986, and he directed it. As far as I know, it's the only movie he's directed. And some of the things I read, he was pretty drugged up for a lot of it. And that trailer definitely looks like he was. Whether or not, I assume he was just trying to be creepy, which he was, but man, he just looks out of his mind in that. So this is based on his one of his short stories called Trucks. And so you guys thought it, Mark, you thought it was my ugly, Kelly thought it was my bad.
Yeah.
You were both wrong. It's my good.
No, it's not.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Impossible.
But I'll slap that clown makeup right off your face.
Here's the thing, though.
Yes.
It is my ugly. I really do like this movie, though.
Oh, Charles.
So
You would. I don't know how to do with you. But...
I watched it as a kid, and I've just always kind of liked it. And honestly, the concept is ridiculous, but it's also kind of creepy. It's pretty scary. If you were to think that technology kind of turns against us, like,
is it though?
Especially, I feel like even now it would resonate even more. It's the execution of this movie that makes it goofy, but that's also what makes it a lot of fun. It's just blowing up trucks with rocket launchers, and this guy has all these weapons.
Yeah.
And it's just stupid fun. And the opening is great with the marquee signs that flash by and curse at people, and the Stephen King cameo where the ATM is yelling at him, and I don't know. I really like that stuff. It's funny to me.
I'll agree with. I was really excited when I started watching this movie because the opening is good. It's weird to have a cameo as the first person you see in a movie, though, right? Like,
right.
Doesn't that seem kind of weird to put yourself as the first review? Like, but so Stephen King, the first scene you see is him getting money out of an ATM, and it like cusses at him on the screen and spits out stuff, and the marquee, like Charles said. The second scene was even more fun with the drawbridge.
Yeah,
and it was like.
What?
And so
that drawbridge is so ridiculous too. The way they shoot it in the slow motion, it's not dramatic. It's just horrible.
And I can't imagine that any drawbridge accident would be that apocalyptic in scale. It's like, slowly the drawbridge opens and they show these scenes of like cars flying into cars and people losing their minds. And so this is what I was like, oh, this is going to be good. This is like every scene's going to be this bonkers and crazy. But then it's an hour and a half of just watching big rigs drive around a gas station, and they shoot one with a rocket launcher every now and then.
Yes.
And they're just stuck in a gas station, and literally nothing happens with any of the characters or any of.
But I love that. I love the fact that they had all this like weapons supply in the basement for no reason really, and I even like it when the machines try to communicate and they bring out the military style weapon, the machine gun. The
one little gun on like a hand cart. They couldn't have like had tanks or and it seemed like this was the only one place all of these controlled cars were going to, and they all needed gas just from that one place. And then there was like a gassing up montage scene where they're all like exhausting themselves putting gas into big rigs. And that's the montage of them literally just standing by.
That was great.
And filling up gas tanks. It was not great. It was the opposite of great, Charles.
That's the part where he's like, they're machines. They don't know when to quit. They don't know that we get tired. I love that.
And then Emilio Estevez being like, yeah, you SOB. Tell all your friends this is the good stuff. It's raw, uncut. Was that supposed supposed to be a good line.
But he's like,
It was a good line.
He's trying to trash talk them as he's giving them exactly what they want. It didn't make any sense for him to be trash talking at that moment.
I love it. I'm not arguing with you that it's not bonkers, but that's what makes it an ugly film to me. It's so bonkers and out there, and it doesn't. Again, and even that idea could be terrifying if technology turned on us. But yeah,
that's true. It really the premise could have been okay. What blows my mind?
The theme, right? The theme is fun.
Yeah.
But
okay.
The premise is still ridiculous.
Well, it is, but I don't know. I'm really curious about this, like if I were to read the story, because I haven't read it. But I can't believe that Stephen King wrote and directed this. I just like his books are so nuanced and complex and just really, I love his writing style, but this was like a Stephen King impersonator.
Well, and that's funny because in the trailer he mentions he talks about all the other Stephen King movies been made, and he's like, I figured if the only person that could do it was me. If you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. So, and that's this is part of that is The Shining, because he famously did not like The Shining because he thought that Kubrick changed the story too much. So I'm sure that I don't know for sure, but I would guess that this is what inspired him to direct his own movie and write it. And you know what? You guys haven't even mentioned AC/DC to the soundtrack. The soundtrack is great.
Yeah.
The soundtrack was pretty good. But a lot of it was already songs they'd already done, right? They didn't write new music for this, did they?
Some of it, but I thought they did. And in that little riff they kept doing anytime something scary was on screen, it's kind of like Psycho almost.
Yeah. So the other two things I have to mention are the not only apocalyptic drawbridge scene, but apocalyptic soda machine.
I love that.
The kids' baseball game.
I love that.
The soda machine just starts shooting out cans of soda like a shotgun, and it literally impales the guy in the forehead, and there's like a bloody circle, and he dies, and this kid goes to find Emilio Estevez in the gas station, or whoever his dad was, or whatever.
I know. I thought at first I was like, oh, they just went for the cheap gags, because initially the soda cans fly out and hit him in the junk. And you're like, okay, LOL, and then he was dead. Like it took a very dark turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it got pretty violent too when the machine gun we're talking about, when it started shooting everybody. It got really violent.
Mm-hmm.
The thing too is like that could never happen in the 80s. Like there were no mechanisms within cars or soda machines that could be hacked by an alien intelligence. But by today's standards, they could, because there's computers in everything we drive. There's like 13 computers in cars now. So it would be a much scarier premise today.
Well, maybe I don't disagree with that, but I feel like it wasn't that they were being hacked. It's like they became sentient beings. They were
possessed.
Yeah.
Which let us chat about that for a second, because what were we to understand happened, that the Earth was in the diffused tail
of the comet
of a comet, and so the trucks became sentient.
Seems like you understand it perfectly.
Well, okay, and I don't understand. Was it just happening in this town, or was it worldwide? Did they mention that?
I don't know.
But then it's worldwide, right? But
I don't know.
But it would have been so much worse.
Well, and why didn't Yeardley Smith, the lady that plays Lisa, why wasn't her car acting funny? How come they could drive that? I didn't get that,
And it didn't seem obviously it wasn't confined to just cars, but it didn't seem like there was an inconsistent definition of what constitutes a machine, because it was like,
well, even the power, because they were looking for power, and they mention it, and the power comes back on, so they obviously had control of the lights and stuff.
Right.
Oh, and then they also possessed the turkey cutter knife, right? And it cut his hand and stuff.
Yes.
What? Really? So.
Yeah. Okay, so the lady who just screamed all the time.
Yeah.
Who was
the
other the one half of the newlywed couple. What was she drove me insane. I don't.
Yeah, she's the voice of Bart Simpson, right?
No, it's the voice of Lisa.
Oh, Lisa. That's what you just said, didn't you? Sorry. That married couple was really annoying.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
didn't like their. That is one part I don't like, and she is really annoying, just screaming the whole time.
Is.
Yeah.
I know. They didn't really add anything to it for me. But
Well, and the whole sideline with the kid, it took way too long for that to meet up with the main storyline. They just kept cutting to this kid like crawling through the forest trying to dodge
And then he
cars.
shoots
on
one
his
thing
own.
and he's done.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
It's like, what's this kid have to do with anything? Why are we? I guess they got to go save him at the end, right? And get to him and get back. But anyway. Oh, the one other thing I was going to mention too, when the kid is walking through the town, he's first realizing what's going on. There's like a little remote controlled cop car that had killed a dog, and it's like sitting in the dog's mouth. Like it had like somehow run into the dog's mouth and somehow choked him or something. Like what? The kid's looking around at the carnage, and it's just a cop car in a dog's mouth.
Yeah, that was
Maybe
weird.
it's deeply symbolic on Stephen King's part.
Well, I do think a lot of it is symbolic, like them escaping to an island that doesn't have technology, and like I think there's a lot of metaphors in it. I really do. You were speaking of nuance, and there is some of it in there. It's just, again, I think the execution of the movie is all
Really,
kinds
Charles,
of bonkers.
Tell me more about the nuance of this movie. What do you think the island without technology symbolizes? I'm calling you out, Chuckles.
I think it's a call to a simpler time. Like I think it's a commentary on like modern technology as of at the time. Like, and that's another reason why I think it would work even better today. It's like literally escaping by an older type of transportation to an island without technology. So, and that's why even like the gas montage scene, it's ridiculous. But even that, it's kind of, you could take that a step further. Is it America's dependence on oil and gas, and there was a gas shortage in the 70s and 80s. So I feel like there's a lot of little small things in there, but again, it's to me it's a perfect ugly film because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is that. I'll give you that.
Well, any producers out there, I want to see a 2020 version of this where, like, it's super dark and all these cars, almost like M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening, where it's like all these cars are just coming to life and all this horrifying carnage. It'd be pretty cool.
Well, and there's another movie, Christine, about a killer car that's also written by Stephen King, and that one's pretty good if you haven't seen it. So he was kind of running with that theme a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
You
ready to move on to Graveyard Shift? I know Kelly is.
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
I am as well, and I think this is based on another short story of the same name. Okay, so this is from 1990, and the synopsis is, in a very old textile mill with a serious rat infestation, the workers discover a horrifying secret deep in the basement. Here is the trailer.
Stephen King invites you to venture deep inside the caverns below the old Bachman Mill.
You're not thinking about going down in there?
Where a secret lies long forgotten by any living soul.
Just ain't no job worth this.
The workers suspected.
You can't put me down there. You can't put anybody down there. I know things.
The owner denies it.
What did happen to the fellow that started this job?
It didn't work out.
And everyone fears it.
This place is infested. That might be the understatement of the year.
Broken? Because one by one, it will devour them all.
We're like shrimp in an all-you-can-eat salad bar, and that thing ain't stopping till it's full. Oh, God!
Must be some other way out of here.
It's blood!
This isn't real.
This is the new horror from the mind of Stephen King. Graveyard Shift. Good benefits, early retirement.
And that was Graveyard Shift. And this is your good or bad, Charles?
It's my good. No,
Whatever.
This is my bad.
For shame.
This is... Okay, so I mentioned this in a couple of... I think it was the last episode. I'm not sure, although we haven't posted, so we're a little bit behind. But I mentioned that I was there was another movie I wanted to pick, and it would have been my bad. But I couldn't find it anywhere to stream or to buy except on Amazon, and it was like $50. And that would have been the remake of The Shining that Stephen King was a big part of in the late 90s. Because that movie is terrible. Which is ironic because, again, Stephen King hated Kubrick's version, and so made a little mini-series that he wrote and produced. And it's really, 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 really bad, even if it's closer to the book. So I couldn't find it. So then I was like scrambling to find a bad movie. And it's like I knew Maximum Overdrive was going to be my ugly, and so I was like, okay, what's going to be my bad? What's going to be my bad? And so I went through a whole bunch, and I'd never seen this one before, and so when I came across it, I was like, oh man, it is bad. It's terrible. So to me, there is a clear distinction in this movie from Maximum Overdrive. It's not even close to me in terms of quality and fun and everything else. This movie makes no sense. I didn't care for any of the people. I'm not sure. There's a rat infestation, so why is it a bat? Spoiler. Why is it a giant bat that lives beneath it? Like, I don't understand. Like,
and they never explain any of it.
They never explain it.
It's just a creature. We don't even know why it's there. And I don't even understand what was motivating the bad guy. Like, was he wanting to kill it or be friends with it or release it? I mean, they end up fighting at the end.
Well, in that trailer that we just watched, in the trailer they imply that the owner has a secret. It's like, well, what was his secret? Did he know about it? Like, he didn't seem to. He went down there and he seemed as terrified as the rest.
Right.
I was so sure when I was watching it for a good chunk of the movie that it was going to be a Scooby-Doo style ending where they like pull the bat's face off at the end and they're like, old Mr. Hutcherson down at the mill. Like you just wanted to, but obviously that wasn't the case. But I felt like they were setting it up that way, but it was very bizarre. This movie was just, but okay. The reason why I thought it was your ugly is because something about it had a little bit of a vibe that reminded me of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. I was expecting somebody to be like, garbage day.
Wow.
Blow up a trash can.
I could see that with the Exterminator guy.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor. Brad Dourif, I think is his name. He's the one that he's in Lord of the Rings. All kinds of movies.
Worm Tongue.
Yeah. And he's weird in this movie, and he doesn't really make sense. Like I never understood what he was doing.
Mm-mm.
Nothing in this movie seemed to have a purpose or explanation.
Right. I mean, did you care about anybody?
No.
Mm-mm.
No, and I didn't even care about the creature. It was such like a cliche, just kind of creepy creature movie, and it was kind of cheap too. Like when you saw the tentacles kind of move into the water, or wings or whatever they were, they just looked like cheap, practical effects, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't care about anything.
Yeah, I don't understand anything about this movie. And I just kept watching it, because that was the only thing that was suspenseful about it. It's like, okay, what is the creature going to be? And then it's just a giant bat that they barely show.
The only thing I liked about the movie was the production value in terms of like the factory where they're making the clothes. Like, it was kind of cool that they found all that working equipment.
Yeah.
And they had the big machines. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Maybe this will be the ugly movie. And then from there on, there's nothing. And the one note I wrote is just the humans in this movie didn't act like humans with normal motivations.
No.
The main character, what was his deal? He was like going from town to town. I forget. Was he running away from money problems or the law? I can't even remember.
I don't remember either.
No. But he just didn't seem like anybody with any sort of motivation. I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't
I don't know what was driving any of these characters.
I wasn't rooting for him. I don't understand what the owner was doing. And even the gag at the end where it's like under new management, it's the last shot of the movie. It's like, okay, that's kind of a goofy joke. Like, is it supposed to be funny? Like, I don't know. It's bad.
Sure, he's still out.
It's pretty bad. You guys, any other Stephen King movies that you think are like worse than this that you've seen? Because I mean, there's a lot. Like, he does, when you get to the horror side of Stephen King, there has been a lot of terrible, versions.
Well, I've always I've always wondered why there weren't more really good Stephen King movies, but I think there are a lot of good ones. He's just written so much. Like, he's produced so much source material that people just keep pumping out these movies, and most of them are terrible. Yeah. But I had forgotten about The Shining. I kind of forget that that's Stephen King sometimes. And you're right about some of his non-horror movies, and I like the long version of It. The original one wasn't horrible. I saw a movie called The Langoliers. Have you seen that movie? That's pretty good. It would probably be like an ugly movie, or maybe kind of good. There's this airplane that gets trapped in time and like goes through a time warp and is out of the normal timeline. And they go into the past, and the past is eaten by these creatures called Langoliers, and they eat up the past because something has to happen to it. And so they see them, and they're trying to get back to the present. So it's kind of a cool premise, kind of creepy. Like they land at the airport, and there's nobody there because it's in the past, and people have moved on to the future, and the food is stale in the water. Anyway, that's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, and like I said, there's quite a few, and there's a lot of like TV versions of his movies, like like on our list for 31 Days of Horror is Salem's Lot, which is a TV movie. So yeah, I really wish we could have watched the remake of The Shining just to see, because the part that always made me roll my eyes was they were the famous scene in the original one where Jack Nicholson pops to and it's like, here's Johnny. They had the guy do the same thing, same shot, and he pops in and goes, boo. It's like, it's like, I get it. It's ridiculous because again, they're just riffing on the very much so superior movie. Anyway, but
you have Misery with Kathy Bates.
Yeah, I love Misery.
Yeah, and then you get into his good stuff, and I like 1408.
Oh, you're wondering just about Bad and Ugly?
Yeah. But like 1408's good, but like another one that I considered was Thinner. Thinner's pretty bad. It's the one where the gypsy curses. There's an obese man, and the gypsy curses him to become thinner, and he kind of starts at first he likes it, and then eventually he becomes like just like skin and bones, and is like trying to get her to reverse it, trying to get the yeah.
What about the Secret Window with Johnny Depp? I can't remember how good that.
Did Stephen King write that?
Was.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah,
I haven't seen it since, I don't think, middle school, but I remember thinking it was pretty good. In a minute. Charles, and I know you don't really like this one that much, but I really like Carrie too.
I like Carrie. I just don't. I don't love it like everyone else does. I like it though. And I don't like the remake. I thought the original was better.
Yeah, I never did see the remake. That one with Chloe Moretz.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. But I like Sissy Spacek.
Yeah, I do too. And there's parts of it I like. Of course, I love the ending and all that. I just think the parts are kind of goofy.
Yeah.
So the Palma film. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so ready to move on to the good?
Sure.
Cool.
Yes.
By default, it's the good one. So let's see. And as I said, this is really, it's It Chapter 1. And the synopsis is, in the summer of 1989, a group of bully kids band together to destroy a shape-shifting monster, which disguises itself as a clown and preys on the children of Derry, their small Maine town. Here is the trailer.
There you go. She's all ready, Captain.
Thanks, Billy. It's not like any time I've ever been in before. People die or disappear 6 times the national average. And that's just grown-ups. Kids are worse. Way worse. We all float down here.
I saw something. There was this
clown.
It's all connected by the sewers. That's where it lives. What happened?
Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
All right, that's it. I mean, we're not done, but that literally is it.
Yeah, that's it. That was the trailer for it. That's right. So this is my good pick. I really do like this movie. I like the television version of it as well. And I really like Tim Curry in that role, but this one kind of surprised me. I went expecting nothing. It's actually a really well-made movie. Now, the original novel takes place in the 50s and the 80s because it was written in the 80s. So I love the fact that this one changed that so that the past is now in the 80s and the part 2 is in modern times. I like that because it actually works well and it still has the same themes and everything, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I think all the child actors were fantastic in it. And the scares are really good. They're creepy and unique and original. My favorite one is the painting when he turns around and it's just so creepy. There's
got chills from me even saying that.
Yeah. There's so many really good genuine scares, and it just has the right balance of nostalgia and humor and horror. And Bill Skarsgård is amazing as Pennywise the Clown in a different way than Tim Curry was, which is great. He's not trying to be Tim Curry. And it's kind of amazing because if all you ever saw was the TV version, then I think this is going to be shocking for you how different it is. Now, I started reading the book when that came out 2 years ago, and I'm a slow reader, and so I'm still not finished. I'm like 500 or 600 pages.
Well, it is. This is like 15,000 pages.
Yeah. So what's kind of interesting is that the book goes back and forth in time constantly, and the movie didn't do that. This movie doesn't do that. It stayed in the 80s, and it wasn't until the closing credits when you realized this was just chapter 1, and so that meant there's going to be a chapter 2, and then that's really cool. And then I have not seen the second one yet, but apparently they have some scenes with the kids, and then of course primarily it takes place in modern times with the adults. But yeah, no, I really do like this movie. I think it's genuinely scary, and I was going back and forth on whether to put this or The Shining, and I'm mixed about The Shining. There's a lot of it I don't like. I think The Shining is a great movie, though. I really do. I know in the past I've said things about it that I didn't like it, but I do like it. But Stephen King doesn't like it, and this movie felt more like a Stephen King. It was truer to the source, and that's part of the reason I put it on this, because I actually feel like this is truly a Stephen King movie, and he likes it. So, I feel like someone did Stephen King right.
Yeah, I could agree with that because there's some. I mean, there are something. I mean, I love The Shining. Is one of my favorite movies of any genre. But there's some slightly goofy things about it, and this is just. I mean, I totally agree with you, Charles. This is like it strikes the perfect balance of humor, nostalgia, and being genuinely scary. And the casting. Well, okay. So that just reminds me. Another thing I was going to ask you is, did they? And this is not a spoiler, but there's from the second movie, I did see it, and there's a lot of scenes actually with that flash back in time to the kids. But because one of the guys is from Stranger Things, and so we know from seeing Stranger Things that he's grown up a lot since the first movie was made. but he looks like he's the same age. So do you think that they just shot a whole bunch of extras at the time, or is that some kind of reverse
I'd heard
aging
so
thing?
The first It movie did really well, and so they kind of greenlit the second one right away. So I think they started filming it like right after that one, before Stranger Things. And I think they filmed all their parts first, and while they were even trying to cast the adults. So,
Okay.
So I think they just filmed it immediately.
I haven't heard much publicity about it. I didn't realize James McAvoy is in it, and Bill Hader, and some good adult cast members.
And again, I that's cool. I forgot you'd seen it, Kelly, because I really do. I want to see it, but I heard that Bill Hader is amazing in it. Like, he steals the show.
He's a great.
Is that do you agree with that? Okay.
I would. He is really. I mean, I think they all knocked it out of the park. Zach and I, we went to go see a late showing of it, and we were both bowled over by how spot on the casting is. I mean, they all look, especially Stanley. They look like they could be those child actors grown up. It's amazing.
How does it compare to the first one? Did you like it as much or more? Or?
I really liked it a lot. I think I liked the first one just slightly more. There were a couple of the scares in the second one that sort of teetered on the edge of being a little too goofy, and I wasn't sure if that was intentional or not. And then so I was like, oh, that didn't really work. But
is it scary?
Yeah, it's scary. It's pretty gory too. Okay. I would say it might be more gory than the first one.
And the first one's a really good mix of the paranormal and the kind of bloody horror stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, like it kind of keeps you going back and forth between those in a really nice like way where it's not awkward, but it's horrific in both regards equally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I keep picturing the scene when he's in the basement with all the water, and Pennywise's head slams against the stairs, and his eyes like roll back into his head, and he just slips like a dead fish back into the water. I'm like, oh my god, this is so like it was so good at doing these things that just make you cringe at how abnormal it is.
And I love that bit with the projector too. That's why I picked the trailer. The trailer I did because that scene creeps me out, and especially what's cool is the trailer didn't give it away, but in the movie it goes dark and then pops back up, and all of a sudden he's out of the shot, out of the screen, trying to grab him. That just freaks me out.
And this movie really did CGI the right way.
Yeah, I agree.
And you really did practical effects really well. But Kelly, going back to what you said about the goofiness, I thought the scene where the hypochondriac drops his pills was a little weird. Like that guy that was chasing him, the leper that was chasing him, was a little bit like not as scary because you could tell it's a guy in a suit with makeup on. And I know they were trying to make it real because I really am a huge fan of practical effects over CGI.
See, that's why I liked it. I love that practical effect.
Yeah. But it was still just the guy was kind of goofy chasing him around. It wasn't. I don't know. It took me out of it for just a split second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. There are moments like that. I agree. I give you that.
But yeah, Charles, that CGI when he's coming out of the screen was really cool looking, and it didn't even look like CGI. It just looked like this creepy, fever dream that we were having with the kids.
And the other thing is too the scares in it, and I don't know if it's different in the second one, but the scares in this one felt they were deserved, right? Because they weren't just cheap jump scares. Yeah. They built it up, and there's a lot of tension and anxiety. It just does. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing about this movie I tell people is like it does not let up.
No.
I kept expecting more of a break, and it was like 90 seconds of a break and then back to another creepy scare scene.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And but the way they earn it is that it's it's not just a creepy bat in a cave that we have no idea about. It's like the original sin of this town coming back up to haunt them, and all of the scares, if you think about it, and I think the book was intentional about this too, even though I have not read it, is that there are always in instances when the town is looking away or doing something wrong. The adults are doing something wrong. So at the very first scene when the kid gets dragged in, there's actually a neighbor they show right across, sees the kid reaching into the drain, and turns away, right? Whereas if you were a normal adult, you say, hey kid, be careful, you should be playing near storm drains, right? And he gets struck down. When it's, obviously when it's the girl, it's her dad being a creeper, and that's her kind of like horror she's dealing with, and that's when that's even. So if you go, and I've kind of thought through each of those,
Even
they always occur
the bully with the abusive father and
right. And then when they're about to cut the larger kid's belly, this car drives by, right, and slows down and keeps going. Right, they could have stopped to help the kid, and they kept going, and that's when you see Pennywise, right?
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Right,
interesting.
And the Jewish father, had just got done really guilting his son about his religion or about not learning the Torah for the bar mitzvah. Right before he sees the pain.
Or the kid in the kid in the meatpacking plant, like he didn't want to kill the animals and stuff. That's his father was yelling at him for that too. Yeah, you're right. I never even thought of that, Mark.
I know.
Yeah.
So and like it's not even on a conscious level, but it's like subconsciously they earn your respect for the scares, and it's like
that and on top of that, you just like the characters, like they're great characters.
Yeah. Like, the casting is great.
In Graveyard Shift, for instance, you don't even know them at all. It's like, who are these people? When they start,
the principal from Walk to Remember.
Well, when they start dying, it's like, who is that? So, is it really the principal from Walk to Remember?
Is the main guy? Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
In Graveyard Shift.
Yep.
Oh no.
That's
awesome.
The main thing I knew him from. I'm sure he's been in more stuff, but.
I want to remember that my accent. Was that the one I'm thinking of? I was on that episode, right?
No.
Is that the movie?
No, I remember
no.
What was that? What movie am I thinking of?
I have no idea.
The two hunks that get in a fight and like burn down the diner. They have to rebuild it.
Here on Earth.
Oh,
wait.
Here on Earth. Yeah.
In front of her.
Wasn't that the same episode?
Yes, Lily Sobieski.
I forgot about your hatred for her, Mark.
Yeah.
No, I don't hate her. She's not an American sweetheart. Like, she doesn't even have an American accent.
She's American.
Like, is she really? No, her parents are like Slovakian. No offense to Slovaks.
Well, sure. After you say something offensive to him,
I didn't. Okay. If you're gonna play like a cute American girl in the heartland of America, like use the accent of that.
She was a cute American girl. Like what? I don't understand that.
What's her name?
Lily Sobieski.
Sobieski? Really? Really, Charles?
Like that can't be an American name? Are you kidding me? Okay. Anyway. All right. So we've mentioned before we're doing our 31 Days of Horror in October. So starting October 1st. So the first one is Nosferatu. I believe Toby will be reviewing that. So that's fun. We do that every year. So you can follow along. We'll try to post the list later this week. But we are doing all vampire movies. And so to keep it like we've done in the past, I start as early as I can. So like I said, the first one is Nosferatu. It's a silent film from the 20s. And then it goes all the way up, covers each decade until it gets to more modern times. This year, though, I did change it slightly because there are certain movies on the list that IMDb does not classify as horror, but I really wanted to put them on there anyway because I'm trying to get like the cultural thing, of horror films. I'm trying to get foreign films and all kinds. So, give you an example, Twilight is on the list. That is not considered horror. But I guess it depends on how you look at it.
It's horrific to me, Charles.
And I'm not sure if Blade is or not. I can't remember which way Blade goes, but I wanted to put that on there.
Oh yeah, probably action.
But so yeah, those are on the list. And so what did we decide to do? We're gonna do a special episode next month.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What did we decide?
We're gonna do out of the movies we've chosen for 31 Days of Horror. Out of those which specifically have Dracula as a character, we're going to choose a good, bad, and ugly from those.
I guess collectively as a group, yeah.
Right.
And I would like to somehow talk about Vampire's Kiss, so I may try to just wedge that in there because Vampire's Kiss is like The Room. It is the quintessential ugly movie, and you guys and everyone out there need to watch it because I think it's the 30th anniversary. They said Nicolas Cage thought it was ahead of its time back then. It's still ahead of its time now. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Eventually we'll catch up to it.
Eventually, but you guys need to watch it. You need It is exactly like The Room. There's characters in there that just like who says things like this. These aren't humans. And
so I'm just looking up IMDb. I don't know if you can see that photo of Nicolas Cage from A Vampire's Kiss.
Well, here the other thing is too. He has this. He does this accent that's almost. It reminded me of Keanu Reeves' accent in Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. But
there's the man.
Yeah,
he's grown young.
It's like a false or a false like British accent, like a faux. I don't know, but it's not, and it's weird, and you just listen to it, and it's like, why is he talking like that? And it's the entire movie.
Yeah, and it's like it's as painful as listening to Lily Sobieski try to do.
No, it's not. Okay, well, when you watch it, you'll have to get back to me on that.
It is.
It's like it's like The Room when Tommy Wiseau says he's all American, and when like
I'm American like you. What accent? Come on, man, give it up.
So just watch Vampire's Kiss for me. Everybody out there, watch it. Again, I don't know how we're gonna shoehorn it in there, but I will talk about it. We'll at least show the trailer and have fun with that. So, and we'll let you guys know on the picks. Like I said, we have to get together and figure out what we want to do. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, these are good picks, Charles.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't really.
Oh, and I also think it was Stephen King's birthday this month sometime too, so that worked out too.
Steven. We didn't get much. What were some other the good ones other than The Shining? Pet Sematary. I didn't see the new Pet Sematary. Was that any good?
I haven't seen the new one either, but I like the original one, even though
the original's cheesy. Not bad.
Cujo we mentioned.
Yeah.
Misery, Carrie.
Yeah. Misery. Yeah.
What else?
Christine is good.
Yeah.
I feel like we put some on our list. We've had Stephen King. Like I like the Creepshow movie. I feel like there's a bunch that have been on our list in 31 days. I just can't. I'm blanking out on them right now. But I do like a lot of his scary movies.
Have y'all done before I came on? Did y'all do just a horror movie genre?
The closest we came, I did slasher movies.
Okay, that's right.
So we've not done just a straight horror movie.
Yeah.
What was Garbage Day? Oh, that was Christmas, right?
No, Garbage Day was I think that was slasher. I did it for slasher.
Yeah. Okay. That was your ugly slasher.
Yeah, it's my ugly slasher. I don't remember was my bad slasher Halloween Resurrection?
Yes.
No.
Yep.
I remember watching that at your house, Kelly. That was hilarious.
I know. Back in the fledgling days before I had seen any horror movies and the least little thing scared me. You've improved my tolerance, gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Even is it Busta Rhymes in that one?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yep. Bicycle kicking Michael Myers. Yeah.
Yes.
That happened.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, I will say I watched the movie It, and it was at night, and I couldn't have light on because of my computer screen. It was like glaring off, so I had to turn off all the lights in my room upstairs by myself. And I was watching just It by myself. Like it's the first time I've really been creeped out, by just watching a movie alone.
And Mark has a really cool. He has a really cool like theater room at his house. It's awesome. And that actually reminds me of how we met.
Yeah, you were installing that's the screen. But I'm just.
Oh, I didn't realize you did it in the room, but that's cool.
Yeah, because there's Jack White.
Yeah.
That my other brother-in-law painted, and there's Jack White. Oh, and there's some more Jack White. I'm a Jack White fan.
And then
actually, he's been in a couple movies. I could do that as a pick one day.
Jack White's been in movies.
Episode. Yeah, he played Elvis in Walk Hard.
Did he really?
The Dewey Cox story? Is it Dewey Cox? Yeah. He was in Cold Mountain. He did a lot of the music for Cold Mountain. It was really good, like good music. He was one of the I forget. I don't remember much about that movie, but he was one of the side characters.
Wow.
And he was in a movie called Cigarettes and Coffee.
I've seen
that
movie.
Bunch of shorts.
Yeah.
A bunch of shorts, and he and Meg White are in one of the little shorts. Anyway.
Cool.
But yeah, we met. You were installing my theater screen, and you were like was kind of like a plumber situation where you're bending over. But I was like helping you out, like, hey, man, pull your pants up, Chuckles, and then that's where you got the name for Chuckles.
Yeah. Well, and I just happen to be wearing the makeup like I always do anyway. So
yeah, the projector clown service,
Yeah.
Have a kid's birthday party and get a projector screen installed. It's actually cheaper than a normal TV to get a projector.
Yeah.
Like,
but I can imagine like watching it by yourself up there with no lights would be really screwed, especially when he pops out of the screen.
Right. Yeah. Not cool.
When I saw it in theaters the first time, I was coming down with the flu, and it was one of those, I forget what the theater was, but it was one of those that served food, and so like I'm eating, I'm getting more and more sick, and I'm having to like run to the bathroom, throw up, and then come back because it was so good I didn't want to miss it. So I'm sitting there. It had the reclining seats that you could press, and I'm just like, ugh, and I'm in so much pain, but I'm loving the movie. So anyway, I'm hardcore.
Wow.
And I get really weird dreams when I'm sick, and so when I watched the last Matrix movie, and I've got all those huge long fight scenes against the droids. Like that night I was sick, and I would just have dreams about like shooting down these robots all night long. So I can't imagine watching it and having weird dreams, sick dreams.
Well, I couldn't even sleep that night because I was throwing up so much. It was like really bad. Ugh. Anyway.
Ugh.
But that's what
I. Well,
I
on that note, guys.
Oh man.
Throwing up, and you can check us out at no, but for real, you can at itsjustawesome.com and on iTunes at Good Bad Podcast, all one word, and that is on Twitter as well.
Cool.
So, any other bodily functions you want to talk about, Charles, before we head on out?
I've got a few, but no. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah,
thanks everybody.
Or listening. Have a good one.
Bye.